Before we begin, thank you very much to Hayden S. for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. Thank you very much for contributing and helping to keep the channel alive. It's, for those who don't check the Patreon, it's not much. I'm asking, like, a buck or two is fine. It's whatever you're comfortable with. If you can stand it, if you can afford it, if you can't, don't worry. Just do your own thing. Just hit like and subscribe. How about that? That helps me too, and that's for free. So, we haven't heard a lot lately about collaboration Transformers. The last things we got were the two G.I. Joe figures, and we know there are more on the horizon because there are some leaked listings that are for collaborations. We just don't know what they are. But I thought I would take this time to actually go over something of a personal wish list, but also just things I think would be appropriate, things that I think would be fun to have, like a transforming version of that I have always wanted, or that I think are natural choices that haven't happened yet for one reason or another. So, right now we're looking at probably the best collaboration figure, Gigawatt. Yes, I'm going to use the Back to the Future pronunciation because that's what it was. All right. I love Gigawatt. I love this as a figure. And of course, I think the DeLorean was probably like the most highly demanded like crossover Transformer thing ever. It's been on multiple t-shirts. A lot of people did artwork of it. Thrilled that that was it. But why did we stop there? Where's the time train? Where is the time train from Back to the Future 3? If we're going to do one, I feel like we should do the other. And Astro Train is sitting right there. They haven't even reused that mold. Like, it's just sitting there doing nothing. That would be cool to me. I know it's not much. It's not much of a change. And also, like, there's a space shuttle mode in there. We might have to figure out how to gear out. But that's not terribly done. They've removed third modes from things for collaborative figures before, so that's not too much of an issue. But it does make me wonder why this wasn't a thing, and I think this is one that people even speculated on that never happened. There are more famous vehicles, I will admit. This just showed up at the end of Back to the Future 3. It's just like a cool little moment to finish the series on. There's far more popular, higher demand vehicles, and when you think pop culture vehicles, I don't think anything comes up higher than the Batmobile. This one is difficult, I will admit. Now, a few years ago, I would have said this would have been impossible because this involved Mattel, the biggest rival to Hasbro. However, things have changed. Mattel was willing to play ball when it came to the Jurassic Park toys, so that's okay. But also, they don't have the DC license anymore. Right now, it's split up between Spin Master and McFarlane. And McFarlane, of all companies, knows what a good crossover can do for your brand and for sales. I don't think he'd have much of a problem with it if he has to say so in that. And of course, it appeals to Transformer collector base and a huge toy line. So, if DC Comics sees dollars in that, I'd see them going for it. The question is, which Batmobile? I've got the Tim Burton one up because it's my personal favorite. The animated series one is an option. The Tumbler is the more well-known modern one. But really, I feel like it's either the Burton one or, if you're feeling really retro and nostalgic, the Adam West one. I think those are really your two options there. How about a vehicle that is completely real, like not like done up for Hollywood or anything like that? Obviously those vehicles are real, but like staying in the room of like realistic vehicles that are well known, what about a monster truck? What about the Grave Digger? I kind of wanted to put Bigfoot, but Bigfoot used to be like, Bigfoot is what you would choose for like the 80s connection between Transformers and like a monster truck toy. But I feel like the Gravedigger is just way more marketable in the end. The trick is, I still don't know how you transform gigantic monster truck tires. That's always the issue when you go into this vehicle mode. There's been very few Transformers that were monster trucks, and I don't think any of them really handled the wheels well. There's just really not an option there that still allow the wheels to spin, you know? So I'm not sure how it would happen, but I'm sure I've seen like shocking things coming out of Takara and Hisui-san. I am sure they could figure something out if they were willing to pull the trigger on something like this. But we don't want to limit ourselves just to like real world, like we don't want to limit ourselves to real world vehicles necessarily. Because of course they've done like the Blackbird, which is entirely like the X-Men version of the Blackbird, which is fictional. I know it's based on the SR-71. I know. But we can go even further than that. How about we stick to something that's super classic? We can do the Mach 5 from Speed Racer. You'd probably get Japan loving that one too. I feel like if Speed Racer's live action movie was better received, and I know it's kind of in a cult classic status right now, perfectly fine, but I feel like if that movie had done better, you probably get this more of an option. I'm throwing it out there mostly because, yeah, animation and anime are another department that they can go to for potential vehicles. I can stick to like the 80s, 90s pop culture vehicles that they have gone to for collaborative, but there's so many that are just like not going to work. I know Kit from Knight Rider was a one that people speculated on. That's just a Trans Am. It's just a black Trans Am. Like there's nothing like, oh, that's Kit. The only thing that tells you it's Kit is that light bar that goes back and forth. That's it. And you can't replicate that in a toy because they're not going to put electronics in it. So it's just a black Trans Am. I don't see where like that would be like that appealing. Like I know there's fans, but still, like it doesn't stand out, is what I'm saying. But there's definitely things that stand out if we like stick to like the fictional era here. How about the bike from Akira? Now, if we do, like I've speculated before, there is a listing for a Legacy Prowl, and I do not think it's the G1. It's certainly not the Beast Wars, so it really only leaves me one direction they could go in. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of Prowls out there over the years, but we know that animated is coming to Legacy. It's just a matter of when. They've said as much during San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm throwing in that it's going to be animated Prowl that is that deluxe listing. And if it is, that opens us up to stuff like this. Yes, it's going to be more classic or like more generations in design, but it's still going to be recognizable as animated style. So I think you could probably get away with doing something like this out of that mold. I think it would be pretty cool for anime fans in general. Because, like, is there anything more iconic as an anime reference than, like, the bike slide? I've seen that in literally everything. Like, everything from the Pokemon anime has done it. Live action movies have done it. I saw a VTuber debut video that had it. It's iconic, so it would be cool. Like, just package it in the bike slide pose. Oh, no, just like this. Like, the front cardboard would have Kaida, like, in the front, and then the bike would just be, like, angled on the side. So it'd be like a forced perspective that looks like this. That would be cool. Oh, my God. Hire me, Hasbro. How about more iconic fictional vehicles? We're just going to stick to the animation. Hey, here's the Mystery Machine. Doesn't get much more classic than that. We have this brand new, lovely Ironhide mold coming out. And now we're paying a premium on it because of the kibble-less engineering that it's going for. So I figure, like, you do something weird and special with it like this, I genuinely feel like you're going to get more out of it, and I think it'd be more worthy as a purchase if it was doing something weird like this, and it's a perfect blank slate for something like this. I feel like, especially because it is a larger vehicle, it would stand out more on a storefront, and it'd feel better. You know, if you're especially a casual collector who might not be into Transformers, but They love their Scooby-Doo. So, and it'd be a great novelty for them. Now, Scooby-Doo is fine. It's before my time. Now, if we want to go into like my personal childhood, we can stick with the Ironhide mold. We can go all the way to the Ninja Turtles. I think this is actually doable, honestly. So we know that Playmates has played ball with Hasbro before. They did so to get the Ninja Turtle Power Ranger crossover comic toys to actually happen in Lightning Collection. And in general, the Ninja Turtle license, they have no real qualms about like divvying that out, especially right now when there's no real like cartoon or even a movie to promote Ninja Turtles. So this is a way of keeping it in the public eye, making some money off of it. I know there's an animated movie coming out, but that's a ways off from what I hear. I think it's still in development. But you imagine this, like turning like the way the Ironhide transforms to actually like accomplish this and to come out looking like a Robo Turtle, I think would be super cool. Now, if we're shooting for the moon here on fictional vehicles, I can literally go into space and tell you we need a transforming Enterprise already. This is again Playmates. They've got the master license right now, so if they're willing to play ball with Hasbro again, let's go again. I think there's an interesting opportunity here. With this, I definitely want to do the Enterprise D, not the original. The original's classic, but I feel the D is more popular. Don't take that out of context. Stop chuckling. But I feel like the Enterprise D, aside from just being a cooler design, offers up a chance to alleviate an engineering problem because, like, what do you do with the warp nacelles? Those giant things that hang off the back by these little panels. You know, that's going to be pretty hard to work into toy engineering and still make it secure. So, let's actually utilize the D for something that it was uniquely talented for. Stop chuckling. Mind in the gutter. The Enterprise D could separate drive section, saucer section. So, what if you did that? What if you separate those two halves? And that becomes a feature because that's something that ship was known for. And then the bulk of your robot transforms out of the saucer section, similar to how a Cosmos toy of the past, like the Legends class Cosmos, would transform. So that's where the bulk of your robot comes from. And then for the torso and head assembly in the back, that would be the drive section, transforming up, slotting in, and then those nacelles become either a jetpack or over-the-shoulder cannons. Either way, you end up with an Enterprise that does what that Enterprise is known for, but also an interesting way of actually doing part forming where I don't think anyone would complain. Because it feels like you're utilizing the natural features of the vehicle you've chosen in order to solve a design and engineering problem. I think that would be cool. And as long as we're going with Star Trek, as long as you got the license, can we get the phaser as Shockwave? Like, can we just do that? Like, because we don't do any crossovers where it's like Optimus Prime as this famous vehicle. The phaser we could get away with, I think, though. The phaser as Shockwave, I think, would be cool. What about competitors? Like former competitors that are now free to like divvy out their license wherever they want, because that's just a thing a lot of these companies are doing these days. So Thundercats isn't doing anything. Can we do a transforming Thunder Tank? I would be so down for this. I would love to get my hands on something like that. And we've got plenty of tanks in Transformers. We've got an Armada Megatron coming out next year. I think that would be perfect for something like this. You know, but that's because Thundercats isn't doing anything right now. You know, this is another one where, like, they're eager to license it out, but they don't really want to do anything with it themselves. Most basically, because, again, there's no fictional support for it. The tougher nut to crack, but one that I think fits much more into that dominant 80s toy brand mentality is HeMan, where I honestly think a Kingdom Tigatron could pretty easily be done into a Battle Cat, which would be awesome. But This one would be tougher because I feel like this brand is a little bit more protected, and this brand is currently doing a whole bunch of things on its own. The Kevin Smith version on Netflix has a second season coming up, and we of course we have the modern reboot for kids. That toy line's all over every store I go to. So maybe not this one, maybe not. But you know what? If I had my way, I'd try to make it happen. We're limiting ourselves, though. We're limiting ourselves to, okay, so we've gone through live action vehicles, we've gone to animation, we've gone to their competitors, other toys. What about the video game realm? Because there's a ton of popular vehicles in video games, and the first one I think of, because I'm a Nintendo kid and always will be, is the Gunship from Metroid, Samus's personal vehicle. And when I look at this, I'm seeing Origin Bumblebee, aren't you? So when they do these, they basically take the engineering of an existing figure. Most often, they take an existing figure's engineering and they come up with completely new tooling using that engineering. So it is a completely new mold, but they don't have to develop how everything works, everything down to the smallest millimeter, how thick everything needs to be. Like, a lot of the fine tuning and a lot of the math is taken out of it because the engineering's already done. What I'm saying is this needs to be at least Voyager size. So we need to like upscale that mold in order to make this to actually like proper. Also because the expectation is going to be for it to transform into Samus, or at least a robot that resembles Samus, which I think is entirely possible to do if you get the extra space for it. What about in-house? In-house is super easy for Hasbro because they don't have to go for any more licenses, but they very rarely do it. We're just now seeing it with G.I. Joe. We saw it previously with the X-Bans from X-Men. And we've seen the possibilities. Grim Lockamus over on Twitter showed us the possibilities of Dinobots done up as Dinozords. And that is a pretty obvious thing when you think about it. This set could even combine. You know, it's a wonky looking Megazord, but it is a very, very cool looking set. You could even go the other way and do a Megazord in Dinobot colors. How has that not been done? Now, if we're talking about current and existing molds being redone into things like this in order to actually save some cost and make them more realistic, I'm looking at that new Transmetal 2 Megatron that we're just now getting really good shots of, and I'm thinking to myself, what do you do with that? Do you do it as a realistic dragon for Dungeons and Dragons? You know, like that crystal turns into like a D20 buried in the robot's chest, and it just is like looks like a real dragon. That would be super cool. You know what would be cooler? If it's like a like ancient dragon that's gigantic in the game, and then you include like the base for the miniature that you play the game with, so it could actually be a miniature in your D&D game. Not gonna happen. Would be super cool. But it made me think, what else could you use for that Megatron? And if we're sticking to Power Rangers, I'm thinking Serpentera. How cool would that be? The proportions are a little bit different, but the shape is overall the same, and I think you could get away with it. I think this would end up being a super cool looking figure and a really cool way of reusing that toy. And Serpentera is one of those designs that a lot of the old school Power Ranger fans really remember and resonate with, because it's just like when Serpentera came out, everyone was in trouble because there was no beating Serpentera. You just had to wait for it to run out of power. And that's still, and the original toy is still pretty highly demanded and collectible. So, no, and there's never been a modern one either. So I think that is a golden opportunity if they want to reuse Dragon Megatron. And then I started thinking, like, what about Marvel and all this? Because that's the most obvious thing, right? Let's do Marvel toys that transform. They've done that in the past. They didn't turn out well. But when we're borrowing engineering that Takara has already had their hands on, we know it's going to come out a lot smoother. Like, that was what was missing from crossovers, was that Takara's engineering input that really made those toys like it makes those toys a step above. So I have one vehicle in mind, because I was trying to think, like, there's not many famous Marvel vehicles, you know, like you know, like Quinjets and the Milano don't really hold a candle to like some like really well-known vehicles like a Batmobile, for instance. So, you know, there's nothing like there's, you know, the only iconic vehicle in Marvel that I could think of was Ghost Rider's motorcycle, which is any motorcycle with flaming wheels. So, what could we get away with? And I have one thought in my head, and there's a caveat to it. The only vehicle that I think we could get away with, that I think would be super cool to see, is the Helicarrier. Only if it is a remold from a tidal wave. I mean a big tidal wave. All right, so like commander size minimum. You remold it so it doesn't separate out anymore. Which okay, like we like that you know, because it wouldn't make sense for the Helicarrier anyway. But you make it just like a solid Helicarrier that turns into this massive robot Nick Fury looking head thing. But instead of that minicon, instead of the minicon ramjet that would inevitably come with such a big tidal wave, you pack in transforming Quinjets. Right? All right. Now this is sounding a little bit more cool, right? So that was the last one that came to mind. Now, obviously, you go through movies, TV shows, cartoons, video games, you're going to hit literally thousands that could be done. Your favorite vehicle is probably not on this list for all I know. You know, so this is just my concepts, me spitballing the things I would really love to see that I think would make fun. And in some cases, just ones that I think make sense because, you know, with things like Ironhide coming out and Hasbro, like maybe doing a tidal wave because they said they know we want it. There's just a lot of potential to those that I can see. So I thought I would just take today to express that a little bit. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I have gotten you hyped up for toys that will probably never happen. And stay tuned. I hope to see you in the next video. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.